Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sherry.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to the Traveling Professors, show number 114. This is Castle Dunluce in Northern Ireland. Now, this was built in the 13th century by Richard Ogdebourg, the 2nd Earl of Ulster, and he built this first castle at Dunluce. It was the first documented to be in the hands of the McQuillan family in 1513. As you can see, pretty significant ruin, but the location is incredible. And there's a Rick Steves show where he travels through Northern Ireland, and he stops here and he sits on a precipice where one part of the wall had collapsed over the cliff, and it's always in danger of having some issues. We get a little further along, I'll tell you the story about the kitchen supposedly falling in. So this was our second stop on our tour of Northern Ireland. This is where we stopped after we had been to the Dark Hedges, and we're going to see all these pictures, and I'll let you know the fact that we were given the same amount of time to look at this castle as we had at the Dark Hedges, 20 minutes, although we ended up stretching it to about 25. But it was incredibly windy, and when we first arrived it was cloudy, and then the clouds parted and we had a spectacular day. So let's view Castle Dunluce. Here's our map of our trip, which is of course from Dublin. So we've spent 2.5 hours getting up to the north. So we've been to the Dark Hedges, and now we're heading over here to Dunluce Castle. And here's a little better view. You can really reach it pretty easily from Londonderry up here as well, and obviously from central Belfast. So this is where we're headed, right here, Dunluce Castle. And here's a picture of the castle on the coast. And you can see that they have pretty high cliffs here, and some of this has of course fallen in. And then this is what the place looked like in the 1700s. They have a really nice set of displays that show you a artist's drawing of what pieces of the fortress looks like. So we came in this road right here and then parked, and so we go into this region and then down to the castle. But you'll see that it had an entire village all the way around it in the 1600s, and a mill down here, and of course the town area is completely gone. So as we're driving up to it, here's a view out the window from the bus, and you can see that the clouds are lifting and the sun is coming out, but we have a tremendous wind blowing. Must be at least 40 miles an hour. And so you can see the main castle and the two barrel turrets, which were a kind of a signature construction for this building. They were approximately 30 feet in diameter, so pretty good size. And then here's a little better view as we're going by. And in this one you can see that there is a wall that goes up towards this area, and that is part of the manor area. It's also where all the tourists come in, and there's some fortifications down in here, but you have to cross a bridge to get into the main fort. And then here we are looking back as our bus is getting ready to pull into the parking lot to get a nice view of the sea. So once we're off the bus, we begin walking down a hill, and you see this area here, which is not part of the castle. It was part of the manor and part of the places where they had the lodge where people who visited stayed. So when you go down closer, you can see the entrance into the facility. Now, because of the lack of time, we didn't look at the entrance building, which is the gift shop and the bathroom. We went straight ahead to the ruin you see in the way in the back there, with a nice rainbow directly above it. And this is an artist's rendition of what the lodging looked like. So we're coming in this direction. The lodging is down towards the cliffs. So here's what the lodging looks like today. You can see the exterior of it, and then here you are with the long building on the inside with some fortifications as well. And then you go down a ways and you get a nice view of the main castle as well as the sea. Now here's a little video of the sea. Here's a nice sunny shot of the castle with the sea. But here is what we're going to have to do next. We're going to have to go down and cross that bridge to one of the turrets. But I can't go through this area because, as you can see, they have it barred. That's a nice picture of Sherry and I taken by one of our fellow travelers. So we have to go all the way out and out again and back. And so here we come out past where we were with the lodge, and we're going to go down this opening here. So you go out into the green and you start walking down to the castle. And of course this Castle was the McQuillans, who had it in 1513, were known as the Lords of the Root, and from late 13 until they were displaced by the Macdonalds after losing 2 battles against them in the mid-1500s. The later Dunluce Castle became the home of the chief of the clan MacDonald of Antrim and the clan MacDonald of Dunveig of Scotland. So this has been changing hands for a while. So here we are getting pretty close to the main castle. We just have to get right down to the bridge. When we finally get down to the bridge, here's the view from the left-hand side of the bridge going across to the main castle. And you can just see the surf. Now if you look to the right side of the bridge, you'll see the outer fortifications and this little path in between, which would be kind of like a dry moat. And then here's a view looking up from that spot. So there's actually protection coming to the bottom of the base of the castle as well. And then of course this bridge, which of course is solid. It would have been a drawbridge in those days. And then here's looking back up where we had been to the lodge and the entrance. And then here we are going into the castle. Now the first thing that you see here is what's going to be known as the inner ward. We're heading towards to the main manor house, but this is off to the edge and part of the area which had collapsed at one time. And there's an old legend that claims that the kitchen next to the cliff collapsed into the sea, and then the owner, his wife, refused to live in the castle any longer. And they claim that when it fell into the sea, only a kitchen boy survived. Unfortunately, the kitchen is still intact and is right next to the manor house, and you can see it. So here we are heading into the main part of the castle. See the little fence off to one side. Here's Sherry standing by the fence so you can see the view. And then we get into where the manor is. So here's a nice drawing of the complete manor. And of course, you see it is collapsed. You might say, well, why did this happen? Well, the Earl of Antrim became impoverished. The Macdonalds in 1690, following the Battle of the Boyne, lost all their money and their power, and the castle just was allowed to deteriorate, and parts of it were actually scavenged to serve as materials for other buildings. There's a view standing inside what would have been the main area of the manor, looking the one direction. And then here's a view looking off to the chapel of the manor. And then here's at the other end looking towards the opposite area. So main part of the building is still here. It's just roofless. Now if you look out of the door as you go out and turn to your right, you'll see this area is known as the inner ward. And here's an artistic drawing of what that would have looked like. This is where all the shops and everything would have been located. And then this view is the view from that location looking out to the sea. And there's an interesting sea story that goes with it. In 1588, a Spanish ship of the Armada known as the Girona wrecked on the nearby rocks, and the cannons from the ship were installed in the gatehouse, and the rest of the cargo was sold, with the funds being used to actually restore the castle. We're heading back now, so we're just looking at the manor as we go by. We're into the main center area as we're heading out, looking back at the manor. And then now we have to walk back up that hill. We're okay on time, but we really rushed through here. And then here we are crossing the bridge. And as we get ready to exit, there is the gift shop and where you bought your tickets. And the other building is where you have the bathrooms. And then this is another view of today's Dunluce town. And then, of course, what it looked like in its heyday. And now we're back up towards the bus, getting ready to leave. And then as we leave Dunluce to head to the Giant's Causeway, we go by one of these buildings. These are some of the Irish homes in the period when they moved the people off the land to bring sheep in. People just built homes and tried to stay anywhere they could. This is one of the examples of those houses, and there's several of them in the area that you see here. So our next stop is going to be the Giant's Causeway, and I can assure you we're going to get more than 20 minutes to stay here. Sherry and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.